one time I did like the freestyle where I put the chickens and sides.
Oh yeah.
I don't remember the last time, but it was something different. Every time I tried to do something different.
No. I mean, it's good to think about that. I ate that before I small things.
Yeah, it was.
I don't think
Maybe go over there.
Oh yeah. And the scramble one.
I like that coffee shop in Temple Coffee Shop. They have really good coffee.
service changes.
One of them is like it's moving the kids route. And so they're trying to tag them in the city limits or out of the city limits.
I mean, yeah, just keep paying people for what they're doing right now, and then figure it at the
I think you'll eventually
could have been that far.
I'll stop sign and have that. So I have for bus stops, ABC program has analytics for bus stops that they tag them to a city. It just doesn't quite work that way for light rail. So they have this one called you'll see it on the menu, political jurisdiction. And so what this does is it the raw file just takes daily ridership. So like there's total ons, total offs on Route 19 and out. And so you'll see some of the routes get repeated. Here's Route 1 in Idaho, here's Route 1 in Sacramento. Yeah. Right? It kind of goes through the different jurisdictions, so you can pivot it pretty quickly to like, here's the buildings within each jurisdiction and stuff like that. So it's easy. ABC reporting allows us to do that on the bus side already with the light rail. The ABCs are not tied. Not tied to a jurisdiction. So you can even do it. These you can even do by census tract too if you want to. It's like all the way down to individual little small neighborhoods that has to be census. Yeah. And they have all kinds of stuff that you can do. Census tract by income level. So we've got the income level, average median income for census tract. Yeah, it has lots of information. It's just it can be difficult to pull it out.
Yeah, figuring out what to do with this.
Yeah. James understands UTA does a UTA having people available and ease of use, right? It's there, hidden in the data center. A lot of times not even available. Wait a minute. If you just take these two columns and add them together, it gives you actual revenue hours. Not like schedule this and lay over this. It's like if you just put it together, you would have those together data sets. So there's lots of raw data. It's just how they present it is
Every vendor has, all the competitors have that.
Woody, did you get the medicine at 3 o'clock?
Their results are probably better than some of them.
Did you take your medicine at 3 o'clock?
Recording in progress.
No, this is right up off of Wilton Road.
We're Johnson's.
Good afternoon. Welcome to the May 13th, 2024 meeting of the Sacramento Regional Transit Board of Directors. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Director Brewer,
Here.
Director Budge,
Here.
Director Daniels,
Here.
Director Hume,
Now batting for the San Francisco Giants.
We've got the voice of God going.
Here.
Yeah.
Director Jennings is absent. Director Kaplan is absent.
That's right. Jennings is here.
Oh, Director Jennings is here. Director Kozlowski is absent. Director Maple is absent. Director Cerna,
Here.
Director Singh Allen,
Here.
Director Vang is absent, and Chair Kennedy.
Here. Would you please read your statement?
All right. With that, we have a quorum with 8 votes, and this meeting of the Sacramento Regional Transit District will be cablecast on Metro Cable 14, the Local Government Affairs channel on Comcast, Consolidated Communications, and AT&T Uverse cable systems. This meeting is closed caption and webcast at metro14live.saccounty.gov. Today's meeting replays Thursday, May 16th at noon and Friday, May 17th at 2 p.m. on Channel 14. This meeting can also be viewed at youtube.com/Metro Cable 14. No written public comment was received for today's board meeting. Members of the audience wishing to address the board should fill out a speaker card located at the rear of the room and provide it to myself or Adam. Once the item has been called, additional speaker cards will not be accepted. The time allowed for public comment is at the chair's discretion. The timer will chime when you have 20 seconds remaining and then again when your time is up.
Thank you very much. Would you please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. That takes us to our consent calendar items 2.1 to 2.12. Are there any members of the board who'd like to address any item on the consent calendar? Seeing and hearing none, is there any member of the public that would like to address the board on an item on the consent calendar? Is there a motion?
So moved.
Seconded.
Get that? I didn't.
I think it was Brewer moved and Budge seconded.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Next item, please.
The next item is 5.1, preliminary fiscal year 2025 operating and capital budgets, and at this time, we'll open the public hearing. First, we will accept public comment on the Sacramento Regional Transit District preliminary FY 2025 operating and capital budget, and then we'll ask for a motion to continue the public hearing to June 10th, 2024. And Shelley Valentin is here to present this item.
Okay, so we're going to hear from staff before we open the public hearing.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Chair Kennedy and board members. Shelley Valentin, Deputy CEO. I'm actually filling in for our CFO, who's unfortunately under the weather today. But we have our Director of OMB here. You can ask him the hard questions. So I'm just going to make a few comments about the budget, and then we will open it up to questions. Next slide, please. This is not working. Thank you. So just some of our budget assumptions. Our priority, as always, has been protecting and maintaining our core services. So we are anticipating that we will be maintaining our core services for this FY25 budget. This is anchored in our strategic plan and priorities, and there are no anticipated fare adjustments. And if our revenue assumptions are all realized, we are not expecting a reduction in staffing levels this year. The remaining COVID relief funds and SB 125 are used to close funding gaps for this year. Next slide, please. So from the first time we released this budget in April, there are no changes to the bottom line. The only change that did occur was an adjustment to the sources of revenues. And this is a good thing. There was initially $59 million of SB 125 funding included in the preliminary budget based on estimates and pending unapproved allocation from SACOG, and after working closely with SACOG staff, the final allocation included an additional $1.6 million in funding. This increase in SB 125 funding allowed us to reduce our use of federal 5307 funding by an equal amount. So on the SB 125 funding, as noted previously, the total funding budgeted for operations in FY25 is $60.6 million. There are two different pots of money within the SB 125 funding, with SACRT currently allocated $54 million through TIRCP and $6.6 million from the Zero Emission Transit Capital Program. I do want to note that while the SACOG board approved the allocation of these funds, there is a temporary freeze at the state level on this and other funding as the governor works on next year's budget. Based upon the governor's May revise and announcement just last Friday, we are cautiously optimistic that these funds will be released and any minor timing issues caused by this pause will not significantly impact our operations for FY25. Additionally, funding originally intended for the state's FY25 budget is expected to be split between FY25 and FY26. This change in the timing of funding available across 2 years will not impact SACRT as our operating budget schedule lags the state's budget by 1 year. As part of our overall SB 125 funding allocation approved by the SACOG board, SACRT will also be receiving $1 million for a comprehensive operational analysis, or COA, to be completed in calendar year 2025. This analysis will support operating efficiency and cost reduction goals for the next fiscal year and beyond. SACRT is also fully aware that these funds are one-time funds and do not provide a permanent solution to our long-term funding needs. Staff is actively working on ways to address future budgetary gaps by looking at additional funding sources, maximizing organizational efficiency, and focusing on protecting our core services. On the capital side, for the April and May budget, staff typically presents only the capital budget additions with a full listing of all currently approved capital budgets or projects included in the June budget document. This year's additions are relatively small, totaling only $9 million. This is not to say that we don't have a large number of capital projects happening next year. It's simply that the focus will be on existing, previously approved projects and mostly state of good repair projects. Lastly, while not fully funded, the total approximate cost of all approved capital projects is $1.95 billion. Just a quick summary of our outlook for the next fiscal year. Regional economy is forecasted to remain stable, and this is based on a number of factors, but one positive trend we've seen is a year-over-year increase in sales tax revenues. Our fare revenue are projected to grow, especially as more state employees are returning to the office, even if for only a few days a week. As previously noted, federal stimulus funds will be fully expended in FY25, but we do expect to fill short-term funding gaps with state SB 125 funding. Understanding that this funding is meant as a short-term fix, we are conducting that COA with the goal of optimizing service levels based on future funding availability. We continue to work on the budget throughout the year to ensure that SACRT not only has sufficient funding for operations, but is also maximizing the outcomes of all our expenditures. Today is the first of the 2 public hearings, with staff bringing the final proposed budget to the board for adoption at the June 10th meeting. And I want to thank you, board members, for your guidance and direction on our budget process, our GM, the executive team, and our management team, as well as our very strong budget team, with Casey leading that effort for the collaboration in this budget process year on year. And that concludes my brief presentation. We're happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Are there any questions from the board at this time? Director Kaplan.
I noticed in the budget preparation, if you look at fiscal year 24, for state and local funding, we budgeted 168 million, approximately 500 million. And then so for next year, we're looking at 219 million. Why such a huge increase? I know that federal funding is expected to decrease by half, but I couldn't necessarily find the increase of why we expect to get a significantly more state and local funding.
That's mostly the SB 125 funding, and a lot of that allocation will be realized in future fiscal year. And then federal funding is decreasing significantly because that's the final available amount we have for the federal COVID fund money.
Okay, so then that brings into the governor's going to release his actual details tomorrow with the May revise, but the state is projecting a deficit this year as well as next year, 1 year out, and they're looking at holding a lot of funding and not selling. So how do we know that SB 125 allocations are actually going to increase as predicted in the budget?
Shirley, let me just briefly answer that question. We have been, thinking about that the whole time, and last month or so. First, because of this year, we allocate $60 million from the state SB 125 into the state and local funding, so jumped from 160 to 210.
Okay.
That's one. Secondly, from last Friday's governor's information, governor says state is going to preserve this money for transit, but not totally open up yet. But they, I think they projected the deficit from $60-some billion to $20-some billion. So they significantly reduced the deficit, gap. Thirdly, we do have a strategy to address this issue. If we're not going to get this money, $60 million SB 125 money for the operating gap, we do have a backup plan to address that. But what backup plan that would be, we would like to share with the board next month when everything is clear.
Perfect. I just wanted to make sure that we've asked these questions, and I had no doubt you were thinking about it and had a plan, but I think for transparency purposes, just saying that, because May revise is not pretty, and then the legislature gets a hold of it, so we don't know exactly what is going to happen. Thank you.
Any others? I have a brief question, very specific question as far as Ride Free. Our K-12 program that has been so hugely successful. There's potential that the city council may not fund it on their portion of it, and I know that Director Kaplan's been diligent at trying to find alternatives, and I appreciate that. But is that built in? If that is a potential, are we looking at decreasing the size of the program, or is that built into the budget as a potential?
It is currently built in, and Casey is here too, but we are actually meeting with the mayor and the school districts tomorrow, and thank you to all the board members who are actively helping us with this effort too, and we will know more about their plan. They've been expressing their commitment to help us with the program. We don't know yet what it will look like, but as far as the budget right now, we are assuming that that will be fully funded based on how it was funded the previous year, and we will give you an update if it changes.
Do you have your mic on, Henry? Is your mic on?
All right. We had 2 meetings last week with mayor and the staff, and also, we have talked to our, board members who, represent city of Sacramento multiple times, and I cannot thank them enough for their guidance and the support and help. And Director, May Van, spoke clearly in front of City Council meeting last week about the whole saga or whole, situation. Mayor Steinberg scheduled over 30 people meeting, in-person meeting tomorrow lunchtime in his office. I don't think he's going to provide lunch to us.
I don't think he can fit 30 people in his office.
So he invited 30 people, and last Friday when we talked, he proposed some, strategy. I think that strategy may work. So that's the latest update. Yeah.
Okay, I don't want to come off as being critical of the city of Sacramento. I'm not. I understand that they're in a predicament and they have to consider every option, but I just want to make sure that we're planning for, in case it does happen, and we can keep the program alive. Okay, any others? All right, then with that, I will open up the public hearing. I do have 2 cards. First is Coca Coca-Zella.
Good afternoon, Coco Cocazella. Today I'll introduce myself as a member of the action team for STAR, Sacramento Transit Advocates and Riders. I'm not sure what the appropriate format here is today because mostly I have questions. So shall I just release the questions in one big glop, or do people want to address them one by one? I don't know. Okay. So first basic question is, this is the first time I'm actually looking over a budget carefully. Is this the most comprehensive version? Can we get more details? Some of the things seem to be like large line items and are not broken down a whole lot. That's a general question. More specifically, I have questions about the capital budget portion of FY 2025.
Do we have the clock going?
Okay, I'll go fast.
No,
So,
I'm not rushing you. I just want to make sure our clock's.
oh, okay. I'm not sure I'm more concerned about the document not reflecting this or whether these items are actually not going to be addressed or given extra funding in fiscal year 2025. So for instance, Dos Rios light rail station, I didn't see that called out specifically. The question is, does that mean it's not going to have any action in 2025? It doesn't need any funding in 2025, or it's just not on the budget document? That's the same question for all of these line items I'm going to mention. Ongoing light rail low floor conversion, bus rapid transit, new routes and extensions that there have been studies about. Is there going to be any further action there? Truxell Bridge study is called out, but I didn't see anything specifically noted about the Green Line light rail implications. Is that again a non-action activity for 2025, or just not on this document?
There was confusion with the clock, so you can have another minute.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate that. Actually, I only have one more quickie. There is a line item here called Disruption Manager Software, and that seems to be an extant service from, I can see it listed in 2024, in other words. It seems to be a rather large amount, 310,135. I'm just curious, why is that such a large amount for something that's already in play? Like what's going on there? Okay, that's it. Thank you. Appreciate that.
Thank you very much. Does staff have any response to those specific questions at this time, or do you want to meet with Ms. Coca-Cola at another time? Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
So just to the process as far as what's included in the budget for the capital side, the capital budget undergoes a number of amendments throughout the year. And so what's being included right now in the abridged budget document is simply the items that we've identified that need additional funding but haven't been approved in one of the prior amendments. So you mentioned an item like Dos Rios. That would have been approved by the board previous to this. So it's not included in this particular document. When the full budget comes out in June, you'll see the full list of capital projects included there. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Jeffrey Tartagia.
Jeffrey Tartagia. First, I want to thank you, Patrick, for mentioning about what's going on with the city and the budget and how it may or may not affect RT. We've had a lot of changes this year of additions going on and dealing with on the consent docket. Is there some way that those totals are going to be demonstrated and showing that brought the changes to what the numbers were from last year to this year in this budget? Knowing, as you say, there are so many unknowns for next year in regards to the budget. That's essentially what my question is regarding our preliminary budget. And I appreciated seeing out in the buses this preliminary, was it buses? I think it was the buses that I saw the announcement of this preliminary budget and time and telling it. I'm not sure where else the public got to realize that this was taking place today and or how they made their written comments. You say written comments expecting everything else, but when you come to the budget, there's a lot more in the budget and numbers through there to figure out how things work out. There's other concerns through there, but we'll do that on another part of not this public hearing.
Did staff understand the question at the beginning of the statement? Why don't we give it a shot?
Sorry, Casey, but I just want the numbers for what you did this year.
So I also want to add, before I answer your question, that we have the detailed budget report that was released at the beginning of the public hearing in May. That's correct, right? And that will have some of the details you're asking for too. I'd love to give you a copy if you want one. But for the difference, that will also show some of those difference in the funding and some detailed report. Overall, it's a 7% increase from last year to this year, but we could give you more information on that as well. And then as far as the public hearings, we have been promoting the social media. We have postings available everywhere. And you'll have another chance to do this again at the second public hearing on the June 10th meeting.
Well, just note the first results, you didn't get any public comment back except for here in the audience.
Okay.
Thank you. We're not going to do a lot of back and forth.
No, I'm not talking about, but she brought to attention the last argument of dealing with the
Your time is
elevator.
actually up, so you could wrap it up there, Jeffrey.
Okay, well, just dealing with the elevator is where that line item sitting on the, for the I-80 elevator, because I understand it's down again.
Anybody? Okay, let's get that answer to Jeffrey. Is there any other member of the public that would like to address the board on this item before I close the public hearing? Hearing seeing none, I will close the public hearing and entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Vice Chair Jennings, second by Director Cerna. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Abstain? Thank you. Next item is public address board on matters not on the agenda. I do have 2 cards. Jeffrey Tartagia.
Back to saying what I just talked about a moment ago, my understanding over the weekend is the I-80 elevator has been down and out. When is the last time we've seen a report about the shuttle service being utilized for the I-80 elevator? Understanding, I believe, some construction is going on for the other side of the elevator, but this weekend, I believe, we had a problem with the elevator being out, and I just wondered, indeed, how often the shuttle service is, checked to see when it is running and when it is not. I've already asked the question about dealing with the city, but I would encourage city council members that it would be nice if some response would be about when there's matters that affect RT being brought to the attention of the board. And I'm waiting for the general manager's report to see if there's anything more that's coming up on that regard. The also is how many current bulletin boards, fare boxes, and connect cards are broken. I've been on a number of them, and you just cannot use a fare box because one of the ways it's out of commission and everything else. And Phil Cerna, you will note that they did work on replacing the sign up there around the Civics Center.
To the chair, thank you, Jeffrey, for noting that, and I want to extend my thanks to Henry, who I brought the damaged sign to his attention late last week, and literally within 24 hours it was fixed. So, thank you.
Thank you very much, and Jeffrey, we'll get a report back to you from staff on the status of the Watt Avenue elevator and shuttle. Any others? I believe I have Helen O'Connell.
Good evening. I have a few concerns. I was hoping that the youth pass for the kids would include some creative funding situations where maybe RT could pay part, the city pay part, the school pay part, because we can't go backwards. We're saving a lot of money and a lot of lives by not putting them into the criminal justice service. Kids shouldn't be put in juvenile hall just because they got a bus ticket, because they didn't pay their fare, because they were on their way to school and they didn't respond to the ticket, so then they get warrants and then they have to go through the system. That just doesn't make any sense. That's why I was in favor of that in the first place. Some other things that were brought to my attention is that some of my disabled friends are wondering if it's going to be across the board that there be a bench at least, or a covering over a bench every 2 to 3 blocks, so that a person with disabilities could reach it and have some place to sit down. Because a lot of my friends have walkers, crutches, manual wheelchairs, and they need those facilities to be available. My third question was the 13th Street station has been closed, and a lot of people wanted to get off there at the beginning of the month, and I asked the train driver if there was any shuttles between Archive Station and 16th Street, and he said he didn't know of any. That creates a problem when you've got to buy your bus pass and you can't get there. I think that's about it for today. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Helen. Appreciate you being here. That's all the cards that I have at this time. So we will go to item 7.1, which is an information item, employee satisfaction survey results.
It's me again. So I'm here to just introduce our consultant who will be presenting the key results of this survey. As you all know, we have employee engagement as one of our guiding pillars, and we take this very seriously. One of the ways that we track that is through our employee engagement survey and focus groups. The first one we did was just before COVID, and we are very excited that we have been able to complete the second survey just the last few months. We have used our consultant, C. Robinson and Associate, to ensure that the surveys are completely anonymous. They are the same firm who did the first survey, and that I think ensures that we have some understanding on the trends, and we are always going to look at benchmarks and how we are doing with some of the things that we said we're going to do. So Conchita Robinson is here online to help us with the survey. Her firm has been doing this for many transit agencies all over the U.S. They understand transit, and they have engaged really well with our employees throughout the time that we're here to conduct the survey and the focus group. So I think it's best coming from her to report on the results of the survey.
Thank you, Shelley. And good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
To the SAC-RT board, SAC-RT CEO, executive team, staff, and community members. As Shelley stated, I am Conchita Robinson, and I'm president and principal consultant for C. Robinson Associates. We're a 20-year-old organizational development and performance improvement firm that's been working in the transit industry for about 15 of those 20 years. It's good to be back with you to share the results of this most recent employee survey. If we can go to the next slide. Let me start by sharing that there was a baseline survey that was conducted in 2020, just as we were entering the pandemic. And none of the questions were changed because we wanted to be able to ensure that this was a baseline that we could now begin to get trends from. The 2024 survey was conducted for 7 days this past January 25th through the 31st. Covering all employee locations, multiple shifts, beginning as early as 3 o'clock in the morning. Paper surveys were used to make it consistent with the first survey methodology, and also because the majority of your employees do not have regular access to a computer in the course of their day-to-day work. Like the first survey, you had outstanding participation from your workforce, with over 52% of your employees participating. Next slide, Adam. So if you look at the participation, we broke it down first to let you know the breakdown with your within the union. 59.4% ATU, 17.2% your maintenance, supervisors and administration represented 15% of the responses, and management 8.3%. We also show you responses by location. so that you can see across the 13 locations, all the locations that we visited, that we had good representation. Next slide. The survey had 12 questions that were rated using a 5-point scale. We have grouped them here, but the 5-point scale: strongly agree, agree, somewhat agree, and then strongly disagree, then disagree for, and strongly disagree. And what you can see here is that the top 4 rated questions received a 90% or higher score. Now, I must start by saying that the survey back in 2020 had outstanding results. In the industry, you're used to having a range probably in the 50s to the 90s, but with most of the questions around the 70, 80 percentile. And we would say to most of the agencies that they're striving to have results in the 80s. And we say the same to SAC-RT, but if you look at this, you have, again, 4 of the top in the 90s, and 9 of the 12 questions received an 80% or higher score. The 2 lowest, receiving timely feedback on my performance from the supervisor, and teamwork is encouraged and practiced. Let's go to the next slide. So if we now look at the questions, the 12 questions, they can also be divided into 3 categories. We are working with SAC-RT to understand employee satisfaction, employee engagement, and employee strategic awareness. You can see the breakdowns of the questions. The questions for employee satisfaction, like, overall, I'm happy at work. SAC-RT provides a safe work environment. I have the right tools and technologies to do my job. I'm satisfied. Engagement. I have a good working relationship with those around me. My skills and abilities are well utilized at work. Teamwork is encouraged. And then employee strategic awareness, questions like, I understand and am aware of SAC-RT's vision and mission. Now, the thing that is also very impressive here is that in all categories, SAC-RT received strong scores of 82% or higher. Next slide. Now let's look at the comparison. Between the survey done as we were just going into the pandemic and those with this year's survey. We compared the results of the 2024 survey with the initial results from 2020. And again, very impressive, as most of the scores, which were already high in 2020, increased a little more. So if you can look through, I have a good working relationship with those around me, about the same. And the reason I say about the same is because the survey has a 95% confidence level with 2.6 margin of error, so plus or minus. So when you look at, we shared with the team that if it's within 2.5%, we would say it's about the same as it was the year before. So I have a good working relationship with those around me, about the same. My skills and abilities are well utilized at work, increased. The overall happiness at work, about the same. I believe the SAC-RT makes a positive contribution to the community, about the same. Increase in an awareness of vision and mission. And I'm receiving enough training to be my best at work, which has been a focus area for the authority I know. SAC-RT provides a safe working environment, about the same. I have the right tools and technologies I need to do my job well, about the same. Competitive pay and strong benefits package, about the same. Though the last three here, I am kept aware of all the good achievements of SAC-RT increase. The largest increase here that the team must be proud of is that I received timely feedback on my performance from my supervisor. This area was our lowest rated score last time. And this improvement is likely a reflection of some of the intentional efforts that were implemented to provide a great deal of training on supervision. In fact, our firm has assisted with some of that curriculum development and delivery. So thank you. If you look here at the bottom two here, teamwork and communications, they continue to be focus areas. I would tell you that we find this in most organizations, especially as staff, has had the hybrid work schedules in the past and are coming back to work. The good thing is that there are other questions underneath this, like I have a good working relationship with those around me at the top of the charts that will help when we are working on the teamwork, which is at the bottom of the chart. And the training that is being worked on will be a continuous improvement area, I'm sure. And then I'm kept aware of all the good achievements. That's communication, and that is something that most, if not all, agencies continue to work on. After the 12 questions that we've talked about, we did ask some questions that were open-ended questions. If we can go to the next slide, Adam. There was a question that talked about, what do you like the most? And from that, I tell you that the top 87% of these comments really looked at camaraderie, pay and benefits, helping in the community. I like the pay and the pay and the benefits. But what I tell you is that we received 758 comments from employees sharing what they like most, which really reinforced that you have a very engaged, I would say, workforce. If we look at the next slide, to support the culture of continuous improvement, we asked your employees, what would they like to see improved? We were able to provide leadership with some constructive feedback and suggestions for improvement, which is again an indication of an engaged workforce. One of the major themes included the need for updated technology and equipment, which I believe from some of the conversations with the employees, you have started to implement and/or improve. Additional feedback involved pay and benefits, increased communication, safety, and other items. All the comments were provided to the executive team so that they can begin to identify the actionable items that can be addressed immediately, as well as some long-term solutions that may require more time and/or additional funding. After the survey was completed, we conducted 5 focus group sessions. And these focus group sessions were formed based on participants who signified an interest during the survey. So as we were taking the survey during the month of January, we shared with each and every person taking a survey that there would be focus groups, and we asked if they wanted to participate in those focus groups, and if so, they gave us their contact information so that when we were now scheduling the 5 focus groups, we would reach out to them and they were able to come. And the goal of these focus groups was to dig deeper on the survey feedback and to actually work with the employees to identify potential solutions, because sometimes you get feedback from a survey and you may go off in one direction fixing something and it's not exactly what the employee base was looking for. So what the survey groups, what the focus groups do is they actually say, here are some of the recommendations that we feel that if implemented will improve our scores in this area next time. The participants were very engaged. They really appreciated the opportunity to be heard. And a detailed report from the focus group sessions was provided to the executive team and will be used to develop future initiatives. As you can see on this slide, some of the overarching themes align with some of the things that we have already talked about, and that is communications, clarity of information, some additional training, professional development, recognition, enhanced teamwork, and of course, the technology and tools. Next slide, Adam. I will pause now and answer any questions that you may have.
Any questions from the board?
Just a quick comment. I'm very encouraged hearing the results of the survey. Very high level of participation, so great work there to get a good sampling all across the board. Thank you.
Thank you. And if I may make a comment on that, I just want to thank our employees for participating, more than half of them. And I think the key why it was successful and continues to be successful is because we really paid attention to the feedback from that last survey in 2020 to now. There are several initiatives that we've implemented to really make sure that they are implemented and we communicate it back to them. And we're going to continue doing the same. In fact, the executive management team meetings now include reading all of the comments, that 760 and 1,000 comments, and identifying what can be done, what are the low-hanging fruits, but also what can we do when there's funding that's available. So I think that's we're committed to continuing to do that, and I think that's how we could really get the employees to participate.
Thank you. Yes, Vice
Yeah, I too want to just kind of compliment the GM and the entire staff on the results from this. This is incredible to see, number one, the participation, which was already mentioned, but over a 4-year period of time, participation actually increased. That means employees are engaged and they know that people are listening to them and something will be done to make it even better. And so when you have engaged employees who want to make the organization better, it makes it better for the organization and all of the people who take and ride RT. So great job. I just want to compliment you on that as well.
Thank you. Others? Okay, I have no speaker slips in for this, so we will file that as informational. Next item is item 8.1, the General Manager's Report.
Good evening, Board, members of the public, and Mr. Chairman. At the last board meeting, it was pointed out that I did not include photos from the recent huge community event which Sacramento supported through bus service. Okay, here. Over the 2 evenings prior to main event, Sacramento transported nearly about 1,500 passengers to the Sacramento Sikh Society Hola Mohalla event, just from the nearby school. It's about like 1 or 2 miles to the event. And this is a big event for Sikhs around the world, and it's a magnificent festival in Sacramento region for Sikh society. Thousands of people, if not tens of thousands, probably close to that, celebrate the festival. And as you can see in this picture, Sacramento, I think that's starting from here, that's Director Brewer, then Chair Kennedy, then Supervisor Director Hume, then in the middle, that's Director Shin Allen, then our Vice Chair, Director Maple. I somehow wasn't in the picture, but I was there. Okay. So I just wanted to make sure I recognize everybody. You know. Okay, next slide. I just want to share some updates from a few recent industry conferences. In April, Sacramento staff and board members, Kennedy, Jennings, Kozlowski, Brewer, Kaplan, and others joined the staff in the meetings with the Federal Transit Administration and other federal agencies in Washington, D.C. As part of this 400-member cap-to-cap trip delegation, the team effectively advocated for transportation programs and funding. Sacramento has a unique opportunity to meet with the FTA to discuss our priorities and 2 grant applications for nearly $100 million ask. The meeting included FTA Executive Director Matt Whips, who has served through many administrations, numerous, and led the FTA operations for decades. And he and his team spent almost an hour with us in discussing the SACATI's priorities and how to better improve the mobility network in the capital region of California. I just want to once again thank all the directors in this picture who attended the FTA meeting, did a perfect, it's perfect advocacy efforts. And feedback I heard from the FTA, they say, hey, your board members are just so, okay, I'm just stop here, okay. So wonderful, okay. And the FTA was very interested in our industry leading programs like Ride-Free RT. This is the best of the best in the industry. Nobody did this like us, we did. Increase our ridership from our region. Our total ridership prior to the COVID was just 22 million. Students' ridership is 1.6 million. Now it's 4.2. It's more than doubled. And also they're very interested in the regional consolidation of transit agencies for operational improvements. And Matt asked me, hey, why are many other regions, they kind of like, separate from each other. Now you guys actually got 5 or 6 more joined you guys. So they're very interested in that, and also very interested in our program, the grant application. We had a chance to speak in detail about our low grant application, which we submitted at the end of April, requesting close to $80 million in funding to provide a much needed renovation to the McClellan bus maintenance facility, and we wish to get this close to $80 million grant from the FTA this year to transition our bus fleet to zero emission and build the first hydrogen facility in the capital region. Last year, we had the meeting with the FTA. I remember, Vice Chair shared his championship ring with FTA administrator. As a result, we got a $45 million grant for our, and we are very confident we may get something, if not $80 million. Okay, the next slide. And following the Capital Cap conference, Director Shin Allen and Kaplan, along with a few other Sacramento, big leaders, had this privilege of attending the annual First Lady's luncheon. And the First Lady, Dr. Jill Biden, delivered the keynote speech at the luncheon, and the attendees received update on the numerous efforts she is leading for the administration and for the country. Thank you for attending that, 2 of you. Yeah. Then at the end of April, I attended American Public Transportation Association APTA's mobility conference in Portland, along with Chair Kennedy and Director Sarah and SACAT staff. This truly is a wonderful trip. And the mobility conference addresses the critical priorities and the challenges facing public transit systems across the nation and explores the challenging environment in which systems operate in today's mobility landscape. It is a great forum to share and learn industry best practices and new technologies and trends. We also get to celebrate the graduation of Sarah's psychiatrist Sarah Kerber. Sarah is not here, right? Is Sarah here? Is not here? Okay. Graduation from APTA's Emerging Leaders program. Just about only 35 emerging leaders nationwide participate in this 10-month program, like once a month, not whole 10 months, to help them grow as future leaders and expand their understanding of the industry. And we also get time to meet with FTA Executive Director Matt Whips again and his team in Portland. And I took the opportunity to thank him again for his strong support for us and for this region. You can see the picture in the lower right side. It's a little bit small middle, in the middle, Matt is there. And then also the pictures in the left side are where we did system tours on Portland Transit. TriMet, Director Sarah, took those wonderful pictures with his very, very, modern equipment. And I'm just saying this. I don't want to say that. And also on the up right side is that two wonderful leaders, female leaders. One is APTA's incoming board chair, and another one is California Transit Association's incoming board chair. The next slide. So previously, I shared that in conjunction with Congresswoman Matsui, Sakati hosted a bus tour focused on housing and BRT improvements along Stockton Boulevard. Sakati spoke about the project during the Capital Cap trip with U.S. DOT team. They were very interested in our project and the reinvestment in the aging and the congested corridor. So much so, later, actually it's Wednesday this week, we will host U.S. DOT's Deputy Assistant Secretary for Policy, Ms. Ann Shinkanyi. We will conduct a bus tour for her, with her along the Stockton Boulevard and highlight the importance of federal investment in this corridor and this region. Okay, this is huge. Let me just explain. The host for this event is Vice Chair Jenny. Let me just first point that out before I forget. Speaking of corridors, I had the pleasure joining this exciting community ribbon cutting for the new Del Rail bike trail on the old Meadville corridor. Why is this important? This beautiful 4.5-mile bike trail is on a former railroad corridor owned by Sakati. Sakati had acquired this property in 1984, this whole 4.5-mile corridor. In 1985, as part of the light rail starter line, 30 years ago, actually 40 years ago. However, we end up using a different corridor to expand the Blue Line south. In 2018, Sakati reached agreement with the city of Sacramento to transfer the property at low cost. I think it's $1, right? We did something at that time, to build the Del Rail Trail. And this partnership was an exemplary model of how public agencies can be seamlessly working together to improve the mobility of this great community. We were excited to see the trail open, and Sakati's senior community official, also smart board income chair, Greg Fishman, and I joined Vice Chair Jennings, Director Maple, Director Van, and former directors Jay Chenier and Stephen Hansen, and maybe others, if I forget, forgive me, at ribbon cutting, along with hundreds of bikes. I was behind Jay. I insert myself to hold that scissor with him at that time. Okay, let's. Then to conclude my remarks, I want to share that we are progressing the light rail modernization and expansion project on time and on budget. We are happy that we are on track to complete the station modifications at the end of the summer to launch the new low-floor trains on the Gold and Green lines. Earlier this month, Sacramento staff hosted an exclusive new light rail train tour for the MAC executive team. I think Helen was there too. And another one for the members of Sacramento area bicycle advocates. These members get to board the train at township line, and it was extremely beneficial meetings, both meetings. We received lots of valuable feedbacks. I just would like to share a quote on the screen from Sacramento's Mobility Advisory Council Chair Jeff Thorne. Following the tour, he says, the give and take of the discussion yesterday was a really exemplary back and forth between staff and the MIC members. And I really think that needs to be called out because it was extremely positive. I felt listening to the points and clearly understanding of the issues was conveyed and well received. Thank you, Helen, for joining that tour, and thank others. And this concludes my report, and back to you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Henry. Is there any questions, Henry, on that?
I do have one. Did I understand you to say that the student ridership has increased from 1.2 million to 4 million?
1.6 to 4.2.
1.6 to 4.2. That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's really great, but it's amazing.
Any others? Okay, I do have one card for public comment, and that's Jeffrey Tartagia.
Henry, my concern is the other issues that are going on. I hope that you will report to the board about what's happening. My understanding in the last month, we've had a couple of operators be assaulted. I think that needs to be brought to the attention of the board and how that's being addressed and resolved. I don't know, and I have not seen for a while, a report on the I-80, should we say, elevator, and I understand that. I got feedback this weekend was out again, and I don't know what's dealing and addressing that. I'm hoping also that, per se, next month that you will give us an idea about how the Folsom is coming to term of completion or what its status is at. And I do hope that more, should we say, of management gets to the best practices of the FTA, because I've been to a couple of them now to see, because real concern is as I look at the back there, the picture of the bus, with the new bus that you have out there, the problem with the, shall we say, wheelchair on the left side is still an issue, and I'm hoping your new procurement will address the fact that if you take one seat out, you could balance and make the efforts through there. So I'm interested in what best practices come on for your next bits of bus procurements. And that's kind of my feedback, and appreciate what I see more detail in some of the reports and what else came up there to explain how things were happening and going on. That's my comment. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeffrey.
Chair, can I just use like 1 second? Thanks for the questions, Jeffrey. Just want to let you know when there's if there's some major, incident occurring, we immediately fill those situation with the board immediately and within like less than an hour. And the incident you're talking about, and I just want you to know, within a couple hours, please arrest yeah.
Thank you. All right, that takes us to item 9, which is public comment from the board. Are there any director comments or questions? Hearing and seeing none, then we're at 9.1. with the Capital Corridor JPA. You do have a report in your packet, unless Directors Daniels or Maple would like to add anything.
Yeah, if that's all right, Chair. Okay, per usual, rode the Capital Corridor train to the CCJPA meeting. Always a really good experience. Highly recommend it if you need to find your way to the Bay Area. And the only thing of note that I wanted to bring up is we actually received the most public comment, I think they said, in years at this meeting, because the director in his manager's report included a slide of him visiting a hydrogen train. Though nothing about hydrogen was on the agenda, we did receive quite a few public comments. So I just want to say for the record that what they shared with us at the meeting is that any decision related to hydrogen fueled versus electric trains on the CCJPA are decided mostly at the state level, decisions between the state government and Union Pacific, among others. So none of that will be decided anytime soon at the CCJPA, but folks can get involved, and there will be more information in the future about how to get your voice heard and opinion heard on hydrogen versus electric trains. So that's all. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you. Director Daniels, anything?
She said exactly what I was going to say.
I was thinking that.
Exactly.
All right. Then there's no member of the public to address at this time, so we will adjourn into closed session. We will not be reporting out.
Chair, do you want me to read the item?
Sure.
Okay. So we have 13.1, Public Employee Performance Evaluation for the General Manager CEO.